Hi, RJ. Very excited to do one of these segments with you. I feel like we haven't done a We Outchea in a long time. But I wanted to start out, and I'll read what you tweeted first, and then I will get into the responses. So after the NFL draft was over, you tweeted this. You said, Texas failed to have a single player selected in the 2022 NFL draft, which is, as we know, just a fact. People had a lot to say online and a lot of responses to your tweet. I'll start with the snarkiest one, which is from Wendy, who said, but, they're back.
It's the best joke in college football because everybody knows it, right? And Sam Ehlinger did not do Texas any favors when they won the Rose Bowl, right? Against Georgia, I might add. Or Sugar Bowl, not Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl against Georgia. And said, we're back. And even Tom Herman is kind of cringing on the sidelines, which I think is the part that everybody should take away from this. But, again, I'm going to double down on this, or triple down or quadruple down. Texas is back, but will it be back to what it was in 2005, 2009? That is the question. But I do appreciate Wendy having a very good joke there.
Yeah, shout out to Wendy. You're going to like this next response. It's from Just a Dude. That's his name, Just a Dude. He says, gotta get it out the system now because next year you're going to see a lot of Longhorns go. So he is agreeing with you.
Yeah, again, we felt this way after the 2014 time when, didn't have anybody selected. And then they looked good for a couple of years in there, winning 10 games, taking 14 games to win it, but that ended the way that it ends. It's not just about being back, it's about staying there. And the staying power is something they're going to really, really try to emphasize, I think, when they eventually move to the Southeastern Conference. But yes, I can't believe this. I'm siding with so many Texas fans, and I'm conflicted about it.
Yeah, what's going on?
God.
What's going on? Okay, you're going to love this one. This is from Kevin. We all know how much you love that Texas and Oklahoma are going to the SEC. So Kevin says, meanwhile, new Big 12 member Cincinnati had 9.
Dog, it's not just they had 9. Right? Like, I didn't bring this out because they didn't make my top 10 or I didn't think it was that big of a take, but they had 8 outside the top 1,000. Like, what? And the dude that they did have that everybody wanted to know was Jerome Ford, who transferred from Alabama to Cincinnati. Wild. Right? Now, a lot of this is whatever the NFL draft experts or the people, I should not even say experts, the people making the decisions have to do, because Desmond Ridder to Atlanta, none of us had mocked. Right? We all had Malik Willis ending up at Atlanta, and I thought Desmond Ridder would have fit better at Tennessee. Everybody was flipped on that one. But yes, like, Cincinnati's there. BYU is a monster nobody wants to talk about. Central Florida, I think, is going to get up there quick, fast, in a hurry with what Gus Malzahn is doing. Like, the Big 12 could become the new American quick, fast, in a hurry. So I'm with you on that. But I'm also looking at Cincinnati going, how long before Luke Ficklejohn starts saying developed here, not there? See where that goes.
Yeah. All right, moving on to another question that you put out. And you talked a lot about Oklahoma and USC and how there's a breakup that happened and being an ex and wanting to show off and show your ex that you're still doing well. So you tweeted this: if Oklahoma got to play USC in the next 5 years, would there be more heat in that game than there is in the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry? So I pulled the best responses for you from this one. This is from our friend Jeff Schwartz, friend of the show, who said, no, USC fans don't care about Oklahoma.
He's not wrong, right? But I think being a chaotic neutral, if you are such, I'm not in this instance, as you well know, but if you are chaotic neutral, that is to say, when you look at the D&D chart, you go your own way, you do what you think is best for you, and you're going to root for the thing that is best for you, while also not trying to impact what other people are doing. You're just doing what you want to do. You might even call that being a libertarian, which is, I think, the best example of that, even as libertarians have a hard time telling me what that means. All to say, USC fans think about USC, right? And I think that is also the reason why they always kind of feel like they're over there being nebulous, is we only focus on you when you win, but you only focus on you when you win, and that makes it hard for us to take you seriously. So Jeff, who's from the LA area, who went to Oregon, who does a Pac-12 radio show, understands and get this, and I appreciate him pithily letting us all know.
Well, our other friend Steven here has a hot take in the other direction. He said, USC barely has any fans. Putting those two programs in the same sentence is so silly. Oklahoma's been a powerhouse, and USC's been a dumpster fire.
Okay, so I understand what he means there because I'm also making that comparison, but I think the way to look at this is in the late night dynamic. So, Desus and Mero is a late night show. Okay? Late Night with Stephen Colbert is a late night show. One of these is a legacy enterprise, a traditional power that hasn't been up to snuff just because of the way that the internet has proliferated content. The other came out of not just how many people were listening to Bodega Boys. Shout out to The Brand is Strong. You know the vibes. It's also who's listening, right? So I go back to USC and who's listening by saying, look at the alumni base. Look at what they want. Look at how money doesn't actually come up for them. At Oklahoma, money is still a factor. Joe Castiglione does not want to set any sort of a market. He's always said that. Oklahoma still lives at a relatively low cost of living compared to the Los Angeles. All these things matter. And I'm saying it's a matter of perspective there. But the reason I wanted to put this out is because the heat that would generate, I think, from people like me, people that work in media, would be enormous. Because we would play up these pro wrestling tropes, right? Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma. Brent Venables, Oklahoma. Clemson, Oklahoma. Like, you have lots of different ways to go here. So when I'm thinking about it, I'm not really thinking about it from the standpoint of what those fans think. I'm thinking about what the rest of us think. Because I don't know of anybody that doesn't root for those two teams that would not watch that football game because they know the storylines in the way that so many people, again, F1 counter, know the Drive to Survive storylines. You're reeled in by the human aspect of this, not by the football being played.
Well, then I'm very curious to see what you have to say about this last one on that topic. It's from Crypto Gambler. USC would likely win all 5 by a few touchdowns each time. It would be billed as a big Lincoln Riley rivalry game, but it wouldn't hold up. USC is going to be real good. Lincoln is a great coach, but SoCal recruits itself compared to Oklahoma, which is gross.
Okay. I don't even need to take on the USC Oklahoma part of this. I could just start with Crypto Gambler. So, crypto is not real. You're bargaining something that you're taking from the earth to try to sell to somebody else by telling them that, it's currency. It's not. We can have a discussion about why that is. But suffice it to say, if I had in real estate what you have in crypto, I'm coming out ahead. You're also got it. What is that? Clayton Kershaw, Dodgers fan? Only Dodgers fans I know from LA are, for real LA Dodger fans, so I'll give you that part. I also think that this fiction, this loud dystopian fiction that you're writing, kind of is beside the point, right? Like, the outcome doesn't much matter. That's why I framed it, which would have more heat. Because I'm not even saying they play football. I'm saying, what would we think? Can you imagine the buildup of, say, an undefeated Pac-12 champion USC, an undefeated Big 12 champion Oklahoma, who are the 2-3 matchup in the college football playoff? That would be amazing. Everybody's eating on that day. And they're all eating on that day because the trash that we would discuss, the soap opera narratives of the whole thing. Caleb Williams versus his old team. Lincoln Riley versus his old team. Oklahoma being Oklahoma. By the way, there's no reason to shade Oklahoma, right? I live here. I know what it is, right? But I'm also really intensely riding for my dudes. And I'm not going out of my way to disparage anybody else's. You don't need to do that. You can just tell me why SoCal kids are good. While you're telling me they're good, DJ Uyunglele left and went to the East Coast. CJ Stroud left and went to Columbus. Bryce Young left and went to Alabama. And that's just the 3 quarterbacks off the top of my head. So if you're going to open yourself up to that, understand a lot of people got a lot of receipts in SoCal. Kayvon Thibodeau's from SoCal. He ended up at Oregon. I can be here all day because it's like that. Producer Cat, what else you got?
This is our last one, so I have one more tweet and responses that I'm going to touch on. We just came off doing a lot of draft interviews with people that ended up going mostly, I think, in the first and second round, and then a couple went in the third. And you posed a really funny question that I think is just so silly, but we also need to hear some responses. So you tweeted, who will be the first player selected in the 2023 NFL draft? Which is just such a silly question, because we didn't even know that the first pick was going to be the first pick until a few days before this year's draft. So, but it's a fun game, right? So I'm going to read this one from Big Ray. He said, Stroud is the clear number 1 pick. Young's size will probably drop him a few spots.
No, he's not, and I love CJ. I love CJ's story. I love Bryce, and I love Bryce's story. But the idea of Bryce being too small is the one they try to give us about Kyler Murray. And now that people have been called in on the receipt of saying that Kyler Murray was too small, it's like, no, he was thick. Come on, man. Which is it? You know, if you want to tell me that one dude is 5'10", the other one's 6'1", fine, I'll let that go. But Bryce Young is taller than Kyler Murray. And he just won the Heisman as a redshirt freshman on a team that competed for a national championship. Okay? Like, there's no reason to shade here. I guess the other part about this is, to Kat's point, you didn't even know Trayvon Walker's name if you didn't root for Georgia until we got to the SEC championship game. And even then, none of you picked him to be the first overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft. What I'm saying here is you're better off taking somebody who's not currently on the betting board to beat. Like, take the field. And you have a better chance of being correct here. Even as everybody believes that Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, or Will Anderson, for that matter, are going to be dudes in the NFL and probably be among those first 5 picks.
John, I'm switching up the order here, so don't panic. But there's a response from LRB who agrees with you, who said probably someone not even on the radar right now as a number 1 pick.
I mean, it's a great point, and it's one that probably should be raised more often than it is, because if we're still debating about who the first pick is, that means nobody knows. And it is also to say that nobody has really cleared out the rest of the room. And that's not uncommon, right? Remember, when Kyler was the first pick in the 2019 NFL draft, 3 months before, there was a lot of competition and conversation about whether or not he's going to go play baseball. Like, think about that for a second. The number 1 pick in the NFL draft was still contemplating playing baseball. We don't know because they don't say. And the NFL, I've been a victim of this myself, wants to tell you exactly what they don't think so that the competitors think that they're doing something else once it gets out to the media, right? We were all debating about whether or not Trey Lance would be a 49er. Give that some thought, right? Or even Jerry Jones going, we were expecting to get a corner. We didn't expect Micah Parsons to still be there, but we're not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, and we might have the best linebacker in Dallas Cowboys history because somebody else just decided, nah, that's all right. We'll go get Pat Surtain, which is not a bad move. Like, that's the thing. You can't really tell me which one is going to do what. You can only tell me that all those dudes are going to get drafted, and then I will believe you.
Last one here, and I think we both agree. It really depends on what does a team's need, right? So there's a lot of really great players that are available, but some might need a quarterback, some might need someone on defense. And also talking about, how Kyler was too small, people have too small hands. There's always something, right? But this person, Nicholas Goldfarb, said, if the team needs a QB, Falcons, Giants, etc., Bryce Young. If they have a QB, then Will Anderson.
Sorry, man, you're wrong. You're wrong because the Falcons have needed a quarterback for 2 straight years, and they didn't take one in the first round. You're wrong because Drake London came off the board before Malik Willis, Sam Howell, or, my goodness, man, or even Matt Corral. Like, you're wrong because they'd rather go get Kyle Pitts than Justin Fields. Now, I don't pretend to know the machinations of a general manager and their scouting department, But I feel like this gets overcomplicated in that we know what we think you need, but we don't agree on what the need is. So we're all projecting the need based on what we saw last year. We're not in the room. So the idea that you have Drake London and Kyle Pitts is cool, but only if you have somebody that can throw it in the ball. And now you're telling me that Marcus Mariota and or Desmond Ridder is that guy. Fine, maybe. I doubt it, though, because one would have gone and been that dude, Marcus Mariota, and the other one, I would tell you just my general understanding and principle here, Justin Fields is a better quarterback than Desmond Ridder, and you passed on him. So in as far as fit, in as far as what we do, in as far as who goes and drafts whom, like Daniel Jones was a top 10 pick to the New York Giants. And Giants fans are like, where did this dude went to Duke? Since when are we drafting dudes that are fake Ivies? That's where we're at right now, right? You don't know. I don't know. We think we know. And then they go do this, and we all look like we don't know what we're talking about when really, check the receipts of a few years. We'll all know together. Okay? That's where I come down on this. Anybody remember E.J. Manuel? Because I do. Thanks for watching this video. And remember, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos on the #1 ranked show YouTube channel.